All right, today we're going to look at a new type of inheritance. And rather than do this as a lecture, we're going to look at this as a case study. And so we're going to try to figure out, based on evidence, an inference of what's happening. So let's get started. Before we do begin, go over this list and make sure that you have a comfortable understanding of these different topics that we've been over. They will help you understand what's happening. You can pause the video at any time that you need to go over something and then start it again. So for our case study, we're going to look at fruit flies. It represents the female fruit fly. Notice the shape of the female and the eyes. Male fruit flies, we tried to make the eyes a little bit different and the shape a little bit different. Okay, so these are the males, these are the females. Okay, our goal is to observe the generation of fruit flies that follow, make a Petri chart, and see if you can determine what type of inheritance this case, eye color, the eye color allele is. What proof supports your theory? Analyze each generation and record all the trends that you notice. Now, these words you may recognize, observe, and analyze. We underlined them and highlighted them because these are tools as scientists that we want to use. We want to be able to analyze different things. We want to be able to make observations. And so whenever you see these types of words, please in your mind review what it is that you're doing with them when you're making an observation versus when you analyze and break things down. Okay, here we go. So this is the population we're going to start with. We have just red eyes, that's the trait, and their offspring all have red eyes. So we're going to follow one of the daughters with red eyes, and we're going to cross her with a fly that has white eyes. Now notice what happens in the offspring. The new trait does not show up in any of the offspring. So we're going to call this here the parent or the P generation. These offspring are going to be the F1 generation. So the first offspring generation. Okay, now we're going to follow one of the offspring, this daughter here. Okay, she had a dad with white eyes, a mom with red eyes. We're going to cross her with a fly, a male with red eyes. And notice that what we get in the offspring, we get mostly red eyes, but we do have a couple with white. So go ahead and make your observations. Look for any trends, once again, that stand out to you. Okay, we're going to follow this sun. Okay. This would be the F2 generation is this sun here. This is the F2 generation with the white eyes. We're going to cross with a red-eyed female. Notice what happens in the F3 generation. Record your data. We'll follow this daughter. So the daughter has white eyes. We'll cross her with a male with red eyes. And notice what happens in the offspring. Go ahead and record your data. This will be the final generation that we look at, the F4. Now you might notice that the wings look a little different. That was an accident. Don't worry about that. That has nothing to do with what we're looking for. They should all be white tipped. Okay, let's review. So first of all, I assume that most of us were able to at least identify this as a possible recessive trait. And the reason is when we saw mom without it and dad with it, all the offspring didn't get it. So this could be a coincidence. But it would more likely prove that we're looking at a recessive trait. Okay, if that's be the case, this would be the chances of getting that type of a trait. So here's the Punnett square that shows the chances for each offspring to get the trait. None of them had the chance of getting the trait, but they all now carry it because the dad had it. Okay, so we might assume that it might be recessive. This one actually is more proof that it is recessive, as we have two parents that don't have it, but must carry it, and we find it again in the offspring. And so go ahead and review this. This should be similar to um, things that we've seen already. Okay, put it in your notes. And do you notice that it skips a generation? Yes, it kind of looks like it's a recessive trait. So it looks pretty much like an open and shut case, right? However, was there any other trends that you noticed? If we go through this quickly, first of all, there's a lot more data, a lot more generations that we have, and it would be important as a scientist to look at all of the data before making our final conclusion or inference. So let's start again at the where the new trait entered. Okay, so nothing new here. We took a daughter, um, right here, the daughter, and when we crossed the daughter with a male that had red eyes, two sons ended up with the white eye trait. Now, could that be a coincidence that they were both boys? Yeah, it could, but no daughters got it, so it's worth noting. Okay, we know that mom carried it because of her bloodline, but the dad didn't have it, and the sons, two sons got it. No daughters did. Okay, so we'll put that in our notes, in our new notes. Okay, this time we took a dad from the bloodline and a mom that had red eyes, and we ended up with offspring that had females and males that got it, and females and males that did not. Um, Now this seems to be just normal inheritance, but it's worth noting that this time dad did have it, and daughters got it. Last time dad didn't have it, only sons got it. Once again, is that coincidence? Maybe, but it could be a sign of something different. We'll put that in our notes. Okay, so here we have, this time we followed a mom that had it, and a dad that did not. And this time we have a really interesting clue. No daughters got it, but all the sons got it. Could that be a coincidence? Absolutely. But all of these coincidences aren't likely within the same bloodline. Um, they could happen, but once again, they're not likely to happen. And this could be proof of something different. So, what's the verdict? There does seem to be a link with this trait to gender. Female offspring didn't get it unless the father had it. If the mother had the trait, then all the sons inherited it. Male offspring seem to get the trait more than female offspring. Coincidence? Maybe. Or it could be a sign of what we call a sex-linked trait. Okay, there are two types of chromosomes: autosomal chromosomes, sex chromosomes. Autosomal chromosomes are all the chromosomes that don't determine gender. They're most of our chromosomes. Humans have 22 of these, 22 pairs of these, um, 44 total. Sex chromosomes, on the other hand, they are the ones that determine your gender. Humans have one pair of these, or two, one from mom and dad, and one from dad. So fruit flies are different, though. They have four pairs, 8 total, and they have 3 of those are autosomal, and one is a sex chromosome. Now, notice that for male and female, the sex chromosomes are different, and we've talked about this before. Females have 2 X chromosomes, males have 1 X and 1 Y. Now, if the Y had the same genes as the X, we would just call it X. But the Y doesn't. It has different traits on it. And so where females have are two sets of this of X's, males have one X and one Y. Um, Notice that because of that, if there's a trait on the Y chromosome, only males will get it. Females won't have a chance because they don't get the Y chromosome. If you have a Y, you're a male. But on the flip side, if there is a trait that is linked to the X, females will still have two options for it, but males will only have one. So whatever's on the X, that's what shows up. So looking again, reviewing just how gender is inherited, mom always gives an X. If dad gives an X, it's a female. If dad gives a Y, it's a male. 50-50 chance. What if something was linked to those chromosomes, to the X chromosomes? Okay, kind of like this. If we were tracking not just whether you're male or female, but also we were tracking a chromosome that was linked to the X chromosome, we could write it like this, and we could still do a Punnett square to kind of guess the chances of inheriting one of those traits. Notice though that it's very different than what we've done before. Okay, we're looking here at a male who has red eyes and a female with red eyes, but the female carries the white-eyed trait. Notice that the male can't carry it. It either has it or doesn't for an X-linked trait. X-linked meaning it's linked to the X chromosome. If it's a girl, the male gave this chromosome, the female gave this chromosome. Then it's a female that does not carry it. It has red eyes. If it's a female that gets the little r from mom, it can only give the big R from dad. Then it's a female that has red eyes and carries white eyes. On the other hand, notice with males it's different. In this case, it's a male that has red eyes. In this case, it's a male that has white eyes. Okay, mom determined what the son's got because she's the one that gives the X chromosome to the only X chromosome a son gets. So if we go back through this, check and see, does the pedigree chart match with the Punnett square? Go ahead and observe each of these different things. You can pause if you'd like to take a little more time on it, but go back through and make sure that this information here matches what happened. Okay, once again, does this information down here, this Punnett square, does that match what actually happened? Does this tell us why only sons got it? It can explain that. Yes. Okay, continuing. Okay, does this explain our scenario here? Why when dad has it and mom carries it, daughters can get it? Does this explain why if mom has it, all of the sons had it? And if dad doesn't have it, none of the daughters had it? So, in conclusion, Gregor Mendel and his studying of the pea plants and the genetics that he came up with were a very, very important place to start. But we've learned since that it's not that easy. It's not that simple. There's a lot of different variations to how things are inherited, especially with higher level organisms like humans. And even in this case, like fruit flies. So it was great that we started with that, and that gives us a good foundation. And it helps us, though, to look at the exceptions here. And this exception follows partially what we've already learned, but it also brings a whole another little piece to how things are inherited. What I'd like you to do now is take your worksheet, and on the back, I'd like you to make some rules. First of all, what are the rules in identifying if something is a normal recessive trait versus what are the rules in identifying if something is a recessive trait linked to the X chromosome?